Hi, I'm Erika.
Hi, I'm Leslie.
And this is the E&L Unsupervised podcast. And before we kick off our 6th episode, we'd love for you to comment and let us know what you would like to see in the future episodes.
What should we talk about?
What should we talk about? What are some questions you'd like to have answered?
You never know. One of your comments might be on a future episode.
Hi. Welcome back.
I know, we're back in Sacramento.
Yes, we are back in Sacramento. 6th episode.
Yes.
It has
hit our month.
Yes.
Each month was our goal to do one podcast a month, and we've done it. So
yes.
Say 6 months. Congratulations.
This one
to us,
right? We should have done the what's that meme that's happening right now where people take the champagne bottle and then like slam it on the table and then it like spits out. I don't know if you guys have
as
seen
long
it.
as I can catch it in the cup.
It's like this celebration thing that people are doing, and they keep, they kind of like shake it up and then they hit the table and it like spits out. We should have done that for this episode. But
we'd have to do an afternoon podcast.
Totally. Well, we've talked about that. How much, wondered if it would be any different if we had cocktails or anything like that. But we're pretty transparent as it is.
There's no telling.
Yeah, exactly. Seriously. I know we barely made this one by the skin of our teeth. I mean, we're coming up on the last week of June.
Yeah. I mean, for us, we're coming on our year end.
Yes.
So just with work stuff, I'm thinking of metrics, and we've got Workday that we're trying to implement, hitting deadlines and just people management and change management. And so I just feel like it kind of is all like just a lot going on.
There's so much going on. And then the summer.
Yes.
And do you take a lot of your time off during summer?
No, I feel like it's more kind of fall, spring.
Yeah.
But we like the RV trip. So I'm starting to kind of book some of those out. I want to take a longer trip, but we always kind of just do the weekends just to get out of the heat and go to the coast. That's a nice part about being in California, or Tahoe. But yeah.
I realize I take a little bit more than I used to during the summer. Like I take at least at the beginning of the week.
It's probably the kids.
Yeah, it's because of the kids, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I have one at the beginning and then I have one at the end of summer. But I just love knowing that I have something to look forward to. You and I have talked about this.
I have to have something to look forward to. I am taking most of next week off for my birthday. And then,
that's right.
Yeah, just get some projects done.
We definitely should have had champagne. Oh my gosh. Where were we on this one?
I don't know.
That's so crazy. Oh, well, we're back. And
we're back.
Today we're going to talk about, when hits the fan.
Yeah. When hits the fan.
Literally.
We've all been there.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
I will say, back in the day, 20 years ago, when we were working together and would hit the fan, it would be like the panic and terror and we're, oh my God, we're just in so much trouble or whatever. How are we going to get through this? And, as we were talking earlier today, it's like we kind of giggled. It's like,
it's so true.
It's you kind of like, well, this isn't good, or I don't know. But then you're just like kind of giggle because you're like, well, we've been here and we'll get through it.
We'll get through it.
Tomorrow's a new day, and
I know
it's not really that bad. And it kind of goes back to people are your most uncontrollable resource, and it's always that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
And it's about mindset. I was sharing with you about that tennis study that came out because they found that the majority of the top tennis players, the majority of them fall within the same 15 people. Like it's always consistently about the same 15 people fall into that bracket of like top players within that sport. And they, people started questioning why, they have the same resources, they have the same training access, they have the same nutritional stuff, like they have access to all of that stuff. But why is it that consistently these 15 players fall on the top 15?
Yeah.
And they found that it was about mindset. And they found that it was exactly that they had the mindset of, when they did well, they celebrated that. And then when they didn't do so well, maybe the play didn't go as they had anticipated. I can't speak to tennis. I don't know a lot about it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like,
that's when I wish I would have played just an individual sport where it was me against myself. But
I know. I'm like, what is it called? But when they actually do a, good play, they're like, okay, I'll get it on the next one.
Yeah.
And it's more for the love of the game. Yes. Than it is for than it is the pressure. And
Yeah.
they found that the others that don't always consistently fall into that top 15, it's because of their mindset. When plays don't go as anticipated or as they had prepared for, they beat themselves up. They just are like, this is horrible. This
Well, maybe
sucks.
that's the winners, the ones that can pivot
Yes.
and just kind of stay in the positive mode of like, I'll get it on the next one.
Totally. But it happens to all of us. We all have bad plays.
For sure.
Like it just is the nature of the life, right? Yeah. It's like it is what it is. So we're going to tap into that today and share more about, kind of what we're experiencing. And I know what's been top of mind for me lately is like the ecosystems that we build within our environments and our teams. And I say that because there's like different environments and spaces within our organization. You have the organization as a whole, right?
Yeah.
And then within our teams, we have our own little ecosystems, right?
And almost like your own culture too. I always say that even with regional offices, you have the company's culture, and then you have regional culture, and then you have team culture.
Absolutely.
And and there's always like the core of, who we hire and people's overall, values and stuff, but they all kind of have their own.
Yes.
A lot of times depending on who's running that group.
100%. And so what I've been recently experiencing, or not so recently, but just what I've encountered throughout the course of my my career is that, when you inherit a team as a leader or as a manager, you're walking into a pre-existing ecosystem.
Yes.
Like they already have a culture, and it could be a culture of fear, like you were talking about. Like that took me back. You're right. We were like, oh shit, fearful. We were ready to defend. We're going to lose our job.
Fired.
We're going to be fired. We were defending ourselves. We were also maybe withholding information. We didn't share too much. We weren't in a safe space to share and innovate, maybe looking back. And so, as a new leader, you're inheriting whatever that is. And that we just went to the extreme there about like fear. But there's also, and you could inherit a team that's like doing so well, and has a positive environment and a thriving environment. And so, that is hard. And from a people person, you're sitting in this role as an employee, you have a new manager, and that can feel like shit has hit the fan.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe someone you really enjoyed working with all of a sudden has decided to take on a new role somewhere else. And that can feel scary, and you feel uncertainty, and you wonder why, and you start creating all these stories that you tell yourself. And so then that can influence the team, your peers around you. And then you have, the opposite potentially when you have somebody come in and they bring a certain like refreshness to the team that they needed.
If you look at it as opportunity, if there's changes,
Right.
I always tend to be more on the positive side of like, you're going to have these things come up, and how are you going to, how are you going to be impactful to that and be a positive change? And I don't know.
Yes. So it's just, that's kind of the space that I've been living in, and I've been experimenting, or like I've been calling them the beta testing of my time right now. But I've been beta testing a couple of things, working with different leaders within our organization on just the assessment of that. And there's internal and external factors to our environment, right?
Yeah.
And kind of breaking those down for what they are. Perception really is our reality at times. And, we really have to look at it for the pieces that they are from a fact base, and if we can lay the foundation for that and say what is actually happening and remove the emotion from it, we can start potentially collecting data that will help us adjust ourselves and see people as people, and, create an ecosystem that people can thrive in, right? And so I've been navigating through these conversations lately because shit has hit the fan in certain cases, or maybe not so dramatic, but it feels like that for those people, right? And so, it's having those conversations and looking at the information, and it's all unique. It's not one
source.
One source or one situation is the same as the other. I can't copy and paste it.
Yeah.
So it's been such an interesting, place to be in lately. And it is navigating through that and learning a lot about what really impacts our little environments that we live in. Right.
Yeah.
And so, that's been kind of top of mind for me.
What's been your process as you're going through that? Is it setting up meetings with the leaders? Is it, how do you kind of get started with some of that?
Yeah. So we've been working on, you and I actually have been working a lot on this, where we've just brought in the leader or the leaders into a conversation where we look at what is actually happening, what is current, right? What is our external impacts? And that could be like, we've had a lot of changes. We've had a lot of new hires. We've had a lot of new roles. We've had a new system in place. What are those impacts? And then you look at it externally, oh man, maybe it's that, it's challenging to hire people. Maybe it's that there's, not enough of a budget that we can utilize. Well, that would be internal. But, there's a variety of different other things that we can assess externally that is impacting our team. And then from the other side of it, it's like who's actually on your bench?
Yeah.
Like when you look at it from a team perspective, like who are the players there? And you kind of have to like pull it even back further because you have to look at it, the role itself first, right? So from an org chart standpoint, removing the names from that org chart.
That's really important because I think everybody's guilty of it, of always trying to fit somebody into a position either based off of loyalty, maybe how long they've been with the company.
Right.
Maybe you really like them or you have hopes and dreams for them.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Which is my favorite.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a lot of different factors.
Yeah. And then you associate, again, I was reading this book. I've been on this history. We digress quickly, as you guys know. So sorry, I was reading this book.
We usually circle it back around.
I'll come back to it.
Might be a big circle, but
I was reading. I've been down this whole history, learn from your past thing, and I've read The Art of War, and now I'm on to Marcus Aurelius' Meditations.
Okay. Are you meditating?
No, but it's about Marcus Aurelius. Have you watched Gladiator?
Yes.
Okay, it's about him.
Okay.
And so he is. So he wrote basically this. He journaled throughout his time, and people found this and have like tried to interpret it. And so they've interpreted it into various different books. But I'm reading one of them. And one of his things one of the pages that I'm on right now is he talks about the dispassionate perception and the need for you to have perception as the reality. And it's really resonating with me because we put so much emotion on this thing on judgment, on our thoughts of what is or what isn't versus the reality of what actually is. And when you actually look at it for what it is, it changes everything, really. Yeah. And if you remove the emotion from it, you can deal with that situation.
I wonder why, with your role and why part of it you're so good is because you don't have the emotion part of it. You're looking at just facts.
Just kidding.
No. I mean, I think that's your superpower, but you look at it from a non-emotional fact situation, and I'm making your circle even bigger. Yeah. But I think when you think of our roles, it's not just human resources; it's the people operations, people management side of things, and you see things differently, so you can kind of see things from a higher level, and then help people kind of get to where they're trying to go, and maybe merge or help them connect with others where they might need some more assistance or training or developing or whatever it might be for their group.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I really do try to take the emotion out of it because it does cloud your judgment. And doesn't mean I don't have care or passion or empathy. It just means that I'm just trying to help connect, the situation so we can better address it. Right. And so that kind of brings us back to the org chart. So if you remove those names, you're not putting into that emotion into the person, like you said, the loyalty, the tenure, any of the other stuff. So then you start looking at it for what it is, right? Okay, do these roles actually meet what we need for what we're doing, right? And where we're going, right? Most importantly, right? So sure, this could fit for now, but where we're going in the future.
So many times people come in and they've got their previous org charts and their previous people, and it's like, this worked at this company, but what worked at your company might not work for our company. And so they come in with that, and oftentimes it's like, well, that's not really a role that we need.
Right.
So you have to kind of assess that.
You totally have to assess it. So then once you do that, then you start going into, okay, who do we have on the bench and how do they fit within the roles that they currently are in, right? Yeah. And once you have that clarity, then you can start making assessments off of those, right? And so we've been doing that. Really peeling back the layers of
way back.
Yes, way back on drilling in and asking those curious questions, what and how questions, and trying to, help build a model of sorts for the leader that we're working with to help them plan better for the now and for the future.
Yes.
And make decisions on people utilizing that information, right? Again, it's all around fairness and equity and creating an environment that they can thrive in, right? Because once we have that information, we can then say, okay, this is what we want. So now dealing with that, now I'm dealing with somebody who has a team that is working through all of that, but then is also working through kind of like the vision and the why of their team, and what they want that environment to be. Do they want an environment that breeds innovation, that breeds collaboration, that does so? It's adding those different elements into that too. That is a little bit challenging because they sit there and question themselves. Well, gosh, nobody's ever asked me what I want this environment to look like, right? And really thinking through that, like what space do you want? Because then that will also influence what kind of people you get as well, right? Because if I know that I'm going to work with a group of people who don't like to talk to each other, but they work well like that, like they don't collaborate, they like to go in, go out, do their thing, and then leave, that might not be the place for me, you know? And so but understanding that early on, or understanding it whenever you do understand it, hopefully getting to that point, that's what we're trying to get to, right? Yeah. It's like, what do we want to do here, and where do we want to go moving forward? Yeah. But we've been working a lot on that and modeling different ways of collecting that information. And that's why I'm calling these things that I'm doing like these beta tests, because each leader has their own unique situation that they're currently
Do you find that you have the same process going in, or is it dependent on where they're at with their team?
It's dependent on where they're at with their team. Because they've been doing well, and then all of a sudden shit hits the fan. Right. What the hell is going on? I
can't wait to hear all these bleeps.
I know. Like, what the hell's going on? You get a call and all of a sudden that person's no longer there. It's like, what?
But we've all been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. You've been there. Right. Where you're just like, man, I can't stop the bleeding.
Cannot stop the bleeding. And so you're like, what happened? Everything was going great. Yeah. Like, what happened? So let's peel it back. And you start,
probably
connecting.
Self-reflect first.
Totally self-reflect first. Take a day, process, go to sleep, think about it. But then trying to connect, create common denominators, right? There's usually a theme there that you start finding once you start peeling back the layers, looking at the history of what's happened in the past, and seeing what's happening now. And so, no, I don't use the same model. And that's what I was sharing about the beta testing right now, because each one is currently in a different situation. And again, it's tailored to them, but we still get to the bottom of that common denominator by looking at their people, assessing their team, their ecosystems, what's impacting those things, their org chart from a people like a organizational role standpoint.
Yeah.
And then making assessments off of that. So totally in this new discovery phase of
and I feel
this
like
process.
it never ends because as we've seen with some of our groups where it's like they struggled with that 3 years ago, they're now in this amazing place. They're crushing it. People are getting promoted. They're back to hiring interns and PEs
Oh my gosh,
kind of rebuilding. And eventually it'll probably be the same where you're kind of, okay, well, we've grown to this and now we've got to revise some processes or people or positions and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. And there's gaps between that too. That's the other thing that we've been finding is that more often than not, we're finding either a gap in positions, a gap in people, their skill level, the gap of leadership, middle management, or even just entry-level positions, right? As people grow, they need to be able to delegate some of their skills, and they don't have anyone to delegate their skills to, right? And or mentor or train their craft to someone else. And or the opposite side where you have someone who's coming in at a much higher level, they're dealing with someone who's an independent contributor.
Yeah.
And you see this clash of like, why aren't you there yet? Well, because they're an independent contributor.
And a lot of times managers don't see it. And that's kind of where you coming in, like looking at what are some of the skill gaps.
Yes.
And looking at comp models, which is usually a trigger word, at least in our environment.
It is.
But it really is. You can name it something else to ease the pain or anxiety, but it truly, that's how you kind of get to the core of like what's missing for somebody to move on to the next role. And
Absolutely.
I feel like we've been doing that a lot with the teams. You did a lot with one of the groups, and now it's like the fruits of the labor have been seen. It's like I love seeing the promotions and being able to highlight those. And then when you get to a group where it's a new group working together, and the positive thing is you've got two leaders that are really working well together.
Yep.
So there's hope, and there's I guess I shouldn't say hope, but that that we're going to get to a good place, and they're on the same page, and we're going through it, and probably for them where they've got their operational job, they they can eventually they'll see the fruits of the labor
for sure. No, it's almost like a sense of relief when we're able to see kind of, there it is. Like we found it. This is why. And you're able to identify it and communicate it, right? I know we talked a lot about you mentioned promotions, but I don't feel like people celebrate enough the transfers.
Yeah. Oh, and those are amazing too,
Just
because
as good.
and we track them.
Yes.
I'm always curious on, from talent, HR, people operations, what people really track in their metrics.
Yes.
I know we've always tracked the transfers too. And I agree. We need to celebrate them more.
It is like
That's mobility.
and mobility, flexibility, people being nimble.
Right seat, right on the bus.
Totally. Right seat on the bus. Sometimes we're in a role that we do good, are doing well, but then we get, we see an opportunity to potentially transfer, and you're like, I could probably do that. And you start poking around, and then you realize
people happier.
Oh my gosh, happier, much
You
better.
should be
people.
happy in your role. If you're not,
Totally.
it's like go somewhere else.
Exactly. I know it makes me sad. It really does make me sad when I sit down with someone and they're just, really upset.
And I think we've all been there where you just either you burn out or whatever. And I've had friends that I've worked with in the past where they just are deflated. And I said, the day that you leave, you'll be like asking yourself, why didn't I do this earlier?
Yeah.
It's, work is important, and, it's your livelihood, and we all care about it, but it's also like, you've got to find the right spot for yourself. So you're in a healthy situation.
100%. Like if you're miserable,
Goes back to your why.
Totally.
What's your why?
What is your why?
Simon Sinek.
Yeah,
Great book if you haven't read it.
Totally. Such a good book. And it is. It just pulls you out and up. And it's necessary sometimes because, man, if you like tunnel vision yourself, it can get lonely and you could get lost, and it just
and your why changes.
Yes. It really does. So, I'm curious because, when shit hits the fan in recruiting, part of that effort that you and I are working on with these different leaders in different situations, one of the things that have come up is, we have the ability to do, apprenticeship. We partner with apprenticeship programs here in California, but then there's states like Texas that don't have apprenticeship programs.
They
right?
do.
They
different.
do, but it's just different. And so one of the things we're working with one of those leaders is, developing kind of like our internal apprenticeship tier programs because shit hit the fan. It's like, holy shit, we have all these great trades people. And how do we assess them and put them into the right levels without having
and still having the apprenticeship, 1 through 5 for the electricians, that sort of thing. But it's looking at that and assessing it. And, we do electrical assessments when we're hiring people out there and, to get a feel for what they can do and what they can't do. And, put them on jobs that make sense and then try to diversify their skills. But it's a little bit different of process, state to state.
Yeah. Do you guys look at that going into a new state? Like when they say like, hey, we're going to enter into, I don't know, in Indiana, do you guys look at, okay, what are we targeting?
Yeah. We'll look at our resources there. Especially, if it's union, non-union, that sort of thing. It's, what's the right avenue? There's national programs, of course, and some are stronger than others, but and then for us from a talent side, we have to kind of learn how those groups maneuver because we're used to working with certain ones here on the west coast. But
that's the other part of that is the I love the title of this. I'm gonna keep saying it. Shit hits the fan on the recruiting on the recruiting aspect of it, like just in the people dynamics of like you're dealing with the manager, you're dealing with the role, you see it from your perspective, right? And the manager sees it from their perspective. And then you have an employee, a potential employee or a candidate that sees it from their perspective. And like you're dealing with all of that. So how does shit hit the fan when it comes to that whole process?
Yeah, I think for us, it's looking at if my team's talking to a candidate or we're out there, talking to people for the role, we talk about the overall vision of the company, kind of walk through that. We talk about the role and their expectations. We talk about, their experience and how that ties. But there's a lot of the culture aspect and the personal aspect that kind of plays into that too, how they kind of fit within that team, how they fit within the company. And I always feel like I'm pretty honest with people of like, here's what you're coming into. I never want them to be sold, a bill of goods. And then they're like, this is not what you said it was. And because that's also, the trust that they, put in myself with that. But, and then, sometimes you see a candidate have a skill set that maybe the manager missed. And so sometimes, a lot of times we do second interviews and follow-ups and, sometimes it just, that person doesn't click with that manager and it doesn't work out, but it's a lot more than just, checking the box and, having 10 questions that we're asking. It's a lot of, different parts that we're looking at a candidate to fit into a role. And depending on the level too, I mean, if it's a junior level role, it's, do they have, the attitude and the grit and energy to, learn and absorb what they're getting from the team. But if it's a higher level position, it has more impact. And if you make the wrong hire, which it's happened, people are good at interviewing or, they say the right things and, they get there and they're not a good culture fit. It's really, it hurts the team in the long run. So I think that's why we do so much assessment before bringing somebody on. And I mean, I love interviewing and, talking to people and, I always feel like if the role isn't good now, they could be great for another group or team.
Right.
So I always say, leaving that door open and having those relationships and doing check-ins with people is important. But we do a lot of kind of coaching with hiring managers too on, hey, we saw this, we need to follow up on a certain aspect of their skills. It's all different depending on if it's field or, more operations. But
right. Is there like a thing that frustrates you when they go into an interview and then they're like,
not being prepared, for sure. Not being present. I feel like asking good questions, not just like your typical textbook questions, but really, kind of
is
scenarios.
this the manager?
You typically manager,
Yeah.
but we do a lot of interview training with the teams, because sometimes you have project engineers or project managers that are part of those interviews because they're trying to see is there cohesiveness where they're a good fit for the whole team. Where if the teams are smaller, if you bring in somebody to that group, it's pretty high impact, or could be impactful or not a good fit. You can have some struggles there, but I feel like if they're not prepared or not engaged, asking the right questions or really understanding that role that they're looking to fill, and what they're really wanting, it can be kind of hard.
Yeah, I would hate that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but you did it before.
I transferred.
I know with talent, and I always kind of go back. There's been a lot of talks about AI. Will it take over recruiting? End of the day, it's a human component, and we talk to people. And I always feel like we do more than just recruiting. And I was talking to Dina the other day, and I mentioned to you where she was talking to a candidate, and he just kept referring to me as a recruiter. And I always say, yes, that's the foundation of what I do, but it's just a piece of it. And I'm happy to take on recruiter title. Like I wear that, title proudly, but it's kind of funny because she's like, you do so much more than just recruiting. And so she was, we didn't move forward with the candidate, and it wasn't for that, but just,
but it tells you a little bit about
the
person
mm-hmm.
and how they see people.
Yes.
And you are
value
people.
Uh-huh.
You're absolutely right. Because if people knew the amount of work that you go through,
mm-hmm.
And really invest in, it's not work, it's really the investment you take mm-hmm. to create an experience for a candidate, they would quickly realize that it's not just a recruiter.
Yeah. And a lot of people see that. I mean, we've hired people where they have this great experience or, it's different than other companies, whatever. But I guess part of my point of all of that was in talent acquisition. And if there's anybody that listens from the talent acquisition side, you're just more than a recruiter. Like there's so many moving parts and people that you're dealing with. And your influence, I would say, is when you get really good at the role is how you influence and help people, your teams decide who's a good fit. And that relationship building, and then the talent assimilation portion on how, great, you get them you got them to accept the offer, but what does it look like for the time leading up to them starting? And then, how is that transition from, talent to HR and how, their 30, 60, 90 day goes and that partnership that you and I have with making sure that they have a good experience all around. And then making sure that the managers are, backing up what they said that they're going to provide.
Yes. I know. And that makes me think about another reason. We should probably have a tally of how many times I'm going to say this title when shit hits the fan.
Really likes it.
I really do like it. That's been our lessons learned. We've had lessons learned on onboarding and assimilation and acceleration of employees through the organization because shit has hit the fan.
Yeah.
We're like, oh shit, this person started and they don't have their computer. Yeah. And or they're not ready, or they get into a car that's like a dump. Like they didn't mobilize it.
Every
ready to
company
take it.
deals with this.
Totally.
It's not just ours. And I feel like lately it's like somebody's, some people have this great experience and then there's others like, shit, I could have done something better.
Totally.
We should have planned that out better. Or why did we just take our time, have the week or two to get everything set up so they have a great experience. So that's kind of, and actually that goes back to what I'm working on right now with our rocks and people pipeline and all of that is really spending a lot more time on our talent assimilation this year.
For sure. I mean, that's just it. We brought that up right now. It's like, dang, that was one element that we're actually working on right now.
I started with a company that my first day, I've had good from onboarding standpoint. Like I remember with Vanner, like it was a great onboarding experience and going on. And then I've had some where it's like you show up and I was like, here's my desk, here's my phone, had no idea how to log into my computer. And, it was like I was hired to, start up a, talent acquisition group. And it was like, okay, we got a lot to do, a lot of changes here. And it was good to actually walk through it to see like what the process was. Cause once you get past the the W-2 and the I-9, it's like, okay, there's a lot more that goes into it than just, once you get somebody in the door, how are you going to keep them?
Totally. Absolutely. And that makes me think of other things that have happened in past organizations, because you're right, it happens everywhere, anywhere you go. It happens in your personal, professional life. That things aren't going to go the way that you anticipate them to go, or they just abruptly shift. And we've had major moments. I've had major moments in the past with past, employers where, we did have some events that we were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do here? Like, how are we going to work past this?
Yeah.
And working through that, sitting down to having those conversations about, okay, what is, again, now looking back, there is kind of like a similar framework in terms of how I personally deal with some of these moments. So I'm currently having my own aha moment as I'm saying this right now, is that I do typically get it down to the studs. Like, and we sit there and we just keep peeling it back a little bit further and a little bit further until we get to the point of, okay, this is what it is.
And I think probably more people need to do that. It's always kind of getting back down to the foundation. I will say anytime there's issues with groups, oftentimes it's roles and responsibilities.
Totally. I agree. The way I understand the world.
Clear is kind.
Clear is kind. Yes, clear is kind. The way I understand the world, the way they understand the world, the way it's written is completely different. Yeah. And that is extremely frustrating. And we have a vision of how things should be executed, and they have a vision of how things should be executed, and it does not align. Or they have different priorities that aren't aligned to yours, or not understanding the complete picture of the desired outcome of what you're trying to complete aren't aligned on a mission or a task in itself, and it can really be disruptive, and things can go sideways because of it, and it goes back to usually comes down to role clarity.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you're getting down to the studs.
I am.
So where are you at in your process?
So with the other, I have a couple of irons on the fire right now, but
fun.
I know, totally fun. It's my jam. Absolutely. And so really just continuing to have those conversations. I've created these little mappings or frameworks within each one of them to help keep myself organized of like where we're at, and this is where we left off in our discussion, and kind of like what we're working towards, and giving each leader kind of a little bit of homework to do to kind of process and then come back to the conversation. Okay, here we are now. Like, did we explore everything? Have we talked about the relationship side of things? Because that is another thing that I know role clarity is big, but also the relationship components. And it goes back to that ecosystem. And it's so funny how usually it's never about technical. Like when we have these issues, it's not because of the technical aspects of the work. It's usually because it's relationships. It's because of, all of these other fluffy things, that we call fluffy. But kind of working through the dynamics of relationships, right? Yeah. And how are we creating trust, and the difference between trust and being liked, and working through that as well, because there is a big difference between that. Because I could like someone, but I may not be fully trusting of their ability to do their job, or can trust that they can carry through or follow through something, And so really understanding what that relationship is and what they want where they want to see that relationship in future state. And so that's where we're at with that. With regards to the team in general, pulling back to the studs, we're currently going through this whole implementation of Workday, and thankfully we've been been preparing ourselves for this time over the course of the last 6 years.
It's a big undertaking. I mean, the ATS system, it's pretty straightforward. Onboarding will have a little bit more in the marketing side, but the HRIS is a big component.
Huge. And it is going to really unlock the potential of our existing staff. And we have been working hard on documenting our processes and creating workflows. And we're not perfect. I'm not talking about like perfect SOPs. I'm talking about just writing it out, saying like, when this happens, this
We have a lot more than what we had 6 years ago.
Holy smokes.
6 years ago we started, and it was like, okay, we need an HRS system, an ATS system.
Go.
It's like we don't even know the process.
We don't even know the process.
Brand new, and so it's such a different
space we're in. And you're right. It is completely different. And so, peeling it back to the studs of what it is and where we want it to be. That's been really fun to see the potential in all of that. I call it fun. The team sometimes says it's not fun, but we it's a whole experience. It's a whole process. And because at the end of the day, I know that this is going to be better. We just got to do the work, roll up our sleeves and, and dig in to get it to where we need it to be.
Yeah.
Right. And so it is really peeling back our processes and seeing like, okay, is there stuff that we're doing right now that is unnecessary? And what can we shift if things were possible? If we had this, right? If this could happen, what would it look like? If the world was perfect, what
and
would
I
it
know
look
as a
like?
leader, it's like, we see things, we know things that have to be done. I always try to break it down into smaller increments for my team because I can just see the overwhelmingness. You have your kind of day-to-day things that you have to get done. And then you're like, okay, we've got these, what we call rocks or goals. Breaking it down and kind of setting the tone, I feel like usually helps the team not get in that overwhelmed state. And then the outcome and you just kind of help them get there.
That is so true because that's when it feels like shit is hitting the fan.
Yeah.
Because, I was taking a look at someone's agenda the other day and I didn't say anything in the moment, but I looked at the information on there. I'm like, this can feel overwhelming. And I wrote a note to myself to go back and help them not kind of work through that agenda.
Yeah.
Because it was really, for me, even just looking at it, I'm like, gosh, this is overwhelming. And so one little thing shit will hit the fan, right? And so kind of like, how can we see that and adjust your efforts to help them, navigate through whatever they're experiencing. Like I said, I sense that in that agenda and I'm like, I need to go back and help that person or at least provide them some guidance on
what's the, because you obviously want change, you want to move quickly, you want to set deadlines and have accountability, but also too, what's priority. And I always go back to that. It's like, here's our priority. And then here's kind of the other things. And this is, kind of stretch out some of those deadlines to ensure at the end of the day, we're trying to be change agents and, be innovative, but what's really necessary right now.
And then making space for when shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I guess maybe that's where I'm going with that agenda thing. It's like, I just didn't see the space for it. Yeah. Because honestly, it is going to happen. It's something's not going to go right.
I'm going to create it.
It's me. It's always me. I'm the problem.
Oh, this is boring.
Exactly. We need to shake it up a little bit. Yeah. But it really, it just is going to happen. Nothing's going to be perfect. And so we do have
That's what keeps life interesting.
It sure does. We have to keep space for it. We really do. And almost anticipate for it to happen. And
I think the longer you're in a role, I always kind of giggle because it goes back to what I mentioned about our first, experience in construction. It's one of those where the more you're in a role, the longer you're doing this, you've seen it already. You know how it plays out. You deal with it, and then tomorrow's a new day, and it's that was yesterday. Because I always kind of giggle a little bit with those that are coming into their position and they're panicked, and it's this is the whole world is collapsing, and it's not.
It's not. It's not. It feels like it. But it's not, and so
I think that's where managers set the tone too.
Totally.
And where talent and HR and that people operations can
totally
make a big impact.
100%. And I think
teams.
that's what
I
we're
think that's
finding.
kind of where it goes back to our group that we're working with is like, it's going to be okay. We're going to, and the cool part I think is where we come in is connecting the dots to people that's going to help them with their process, their people, how they're going to get to a good space and grow.
100%. And that is exactly where I truly believe partnerships within HR and talent, this is our space. Like this should be your jam.
Yeah.
Like being able to help those managers and leaders.
It's just not a number recruiting. It's not just like,
No.
oh, cool, let's get this person promoted. There's so much more that goes into it.
And that's honestly why I like sincerely love working with you, because you're not just like, oh, that's not my lane. Like you are like, people is my lane.
Yes.
Like that is my lane. So it's how can we work towards identifying, what the needs are, and that has impact. Because at the end of the day, guess what? It's going to impact you, because we're going to either have to hire someone, realize we have more roles than we that we need to fill, or it may just mean that we are going to promote somebody which will leave a vacant role.
Yeah.
So, but you're not looking at it from a like, how does this serve me? You're looking at it from a like, how am I serving others?
Yeah.
And that in itself is like the true value of this, like that entire partnership, I really do feel like that's our value add, and we can help them get to a place where they're operating efficiently. They're building their ecosystems that are healthy and thriving, right?
So fun to see. And I have some peers where they have a very similar relationship as you and I, where they've got a good, they've worked together. They're both in sync, and they just, I always love kind of seeing that. And I feel like if you're in talent or HR, having that collaboration is such a key to helping the overall of the company and taking your position to just a bigger, having more impact on your company.
Right. I completely agree.
'Cause I feel like some of the projects we've been working on lately have been so fun.
This is it. This is it for me. I'm like, I love this space. It's just kind of is
Helping people just navigate their people and their positions and their growth and all of that. It's been fun. And it's, they could feel frustrated, I think, at the end of our calls and our meetings. And that's something I will say for those in this space is be consistent. We've been consistent weekly meetings, whether they want to do it or not.
Right. And you're absolutely right. It's just being consistent, staying in the process, having action items. What is our desired outcome at the end of the day? What are we looking towards to completing and achieving? And once they see that a little bit, they'll start, realizing that they have, this is of value.
And then
they have
there's trust built. And then as they navigate future problems or change within their groups, it's like they know who to go to.
Exactly.
They've got resources.
Yep. Totally true. Well, I feel like we've tapped into this topic pretty well. We'd love to hear some feedback from you guys. If you guys have anything to share with us, please drop a comment in our YouTube channel or connect with us on LinkedIn. We love to hear what you guys are experiencing, if anything similar, or have different strategies that you guys utilize, or even like a framework, because like I said, I'm beta testing all kinds of different frameworks right now.
We could use it.
I would totally use it. So, and ask for help.
Yeah.
So I'm like
Books,
really
podcasts,
asking.
whatever can help us.
Exactly. But totally open to having that conversation. So look forward to our next podcast.
Don't know what we're probably maybe interview somebody.
Definitely.
I think.
Yeah.
So you won't just have us, but we needed kind of sometimes I think some of these we need just a
event sesh.
For sure.
Okay. We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. See ya.